Everyone, welcome back to iStart Insider, where we dive into the journeys of young innovators, creators, and changemakers. I'm Sanjit.
And I'm Neil. Today's guest is someone we're so excited to have on, Chloe Lin. She's a freshman at the Wharton School of UPenn, a state leader with New Jersey DECA, a research assistant at Stanford GSB, and a former intern in the city of Philadelphia's Department of Labor.
She's navigated everything from analyzing 19th century international finance data to representing many aspiring business professionals as a New Jersey DECA officer. Especially as a Stanford Reichar scholar, she's building bridges between cultures. Welcome to the show, Chloe. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me. How are you?
We're
We're doing
great.
great. Yeah.
We just want to know what you've been working on lately.
Yeah, so as a freshman at Wharton, these past few weeks has been like club recruitment season. So I've just been exploring different clubs here, particularly consulting clubs and investment and trading clubs, and applying to those. I also got involved in the arts at Penn. So I got into Penn Dance Company and Penn Symphony Orchestra. So it's really cool to explore beyond academics here at Penn.
It's
That's
great. Yeah.
awesome. So let's rewind a little bit. You were elected as a state officer for New Jersey DECA, representing thousands of students. What was that experience like, and what did you learn about leadership at such a big scale?
Yeah, so that experience was definitely like a once in a lifetime type of opportunity where you're leading over 13,000 high school students. And also, the best part about DECA is you're all high school students interested in business, interested in just having a good time. And I feel like that really unites everyone and makes everyone like so nice to each other and so welcoming. And so I feel like that experience for me was truly life changing in the fact that I got to speak in front of so many people, but also it wasn't just leading them on the stage or like on Instagram. It was connecting with them on a smaller scale, whether that be going to their schools and visiting them, or having office hours on Zoom with them, or just answering the DMs that I get from them. And so I think what I learned about leadership on that scale was that it's not about the quantity of how many people you're leading. It's about the impact you can have individually on each person in the organization. And so, like I mentioned, I worked with some of the smaller chapters. So, for example, Paul the Sixth High School, they started a new chapter last year, and they're around like 20 minutes away from my high school. So one day after school, I left and I went to go visit their chapter, and then I gave them a little presentation about what DEC is about, and then I helped them get their chapter started. And it was great to see them at the regional and state conference too. So I think definitely it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and you really learn a lot about just connecting with people on a smaller basis, even though it is a large role.
I could see that clearly happening, yeah. Because you're reaching out to so many people. Like I'm personally a member of TSA, where we have state officers and national officers who even reach out to people at local schools. It's honestly kind of great to see people like you like going at such a small level. Speaking of leadership, you also intern at the city of Philadelphia's Department of Labor, and instead of talking about people or students about club opportunities, you were involved in labor disputes and wages. So it became a lot more serious, and you dove into like real world experience with older people, with people who are actually were dealing with real issues. Is there anything that surprised you at your age?
Yeah, I think there were a few things that surprised me. I think when I was working on the projects, I found that there were a lot more issues than I thought there were in the city. And, that's exactly what we were working towards. We were working towards making sure that people got fair pay and they were complying with the wage standards and they weren't trying to get any like loopholes. Because a lot of companies actually try to find loopholes to pay their employees less than what they're supposed to get paid. And so that was kind of my job. I was going through data and making sure that every company in the city was working to pay their contractors and pay their employees the correct amount of money. And that came with looking at like wages, fringes, benefits, etc. And I think it was really cool as well because I was working on various different projects. So, for example, I would get a project that was like Philadelphia Airport Terminal A, and it would be like the construction workers working to fix the airport, and some of them wouldn't be getting the right pay. And so I think that it was really cool because I'm from around the Philadelphia area, it was like I was working with the community itself in a way as well, because obviously like Philadelphia Airport is my local airport. And so being able to work on a project with something so close to home, it was really nice to be able to feel that I was making an impact and seeing the issues in the city. It made me want to do more, and also made me want to go to Penn even more because of its location in the city and continue working with that community. I think I was also surprised just about like the people. Like I was the one of two interns in the whole office. And so obviously it was a little intimidating being in an office with people who have been in the industry for a while. But I think everyone was so welcoming and everyone really just wanted me to learn. And I think they really gave me the resources to do that. And, at the end, they also like gave me like a nice like thank you cake and like a farewell. And I think it was really nice to see how welcoming and supportive they were, that they really just want the next generation to learn and be able to make impact and make change even at a young age and with little to no experience like I had. So I think that was really nice.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Government work, it's so rooted in the present, like the current disputes that you had to handle, right? But on the other side, you also dug into history at Stanford, looking back at international banking activity in the late 1800s. So what kind of drew you to that project and what did you take away from it?
Yeah, so I did that project back in the summer after my sophomore year. And so I think back then I was just really interested in getting involved with finance and seeing what opportunities I could find that could help open my eyes to what there is about finance. And so I came across this opportunity at Stanford's Graduate School of Business where I assisted a professor on her research on international banking and trading history. And so what I took from the project was that there's like so much that goes into banking. Like every day I was looking at banking sheets of places from Germany to the US. And it was really interesting to see how that all came together. And at the end, all of the data I compiled and I was extracting was essentially used to analyze trends and see what kind of relationship all of the countries had together. And so, yeah, I think I took away from the project that also it's all about organization when you're extracting data. So obviously I wasn't working too much on like the writing component of the research project. I was doing more data analytics and like extracting the data from the banking sheets. And so I think I took away that organization is crucial to analyzing data. And so you want to make sure that you're really being detail oriented when you do it.
Yeah, it's perfect. I guess digging from your finance history, not only were you analyzing a lot of data, and I guess organization is key, you also brought into global studies, especially through your scholar program at Stanford from the U.S.-Japan relations. I just wanted to know how that program shaped your global perspective.
Yeah. So the Rice Shower Scholars Program was definitely one of the highlights of my high school career. It's an amazing program, and I highly recommend it for any high schoolers that are interested in international relations. I think the program shaped my global perspective in so many ways because I went into the program because I saw that they had like a focus on Japanese economics and like the US Japan economy. And then I went in and I got so much more than that. I got a lot more out of just cross-cultural relations, the US Japan ties in specific. And I also got to talk to some of the Stanford E-Japan students. So it's kind of like on the flip side. So Rice Shower Scholars is American students learning about the US Japan relationship. And then Stanford E-Japan is Japanese students learning about America and the US Japan relationship from their perspective. And so I was able to talk to some Japanese students and talk to them about their culture, their school system, things that we were learning and studying about in our program. But I actually got to learn and see that firsthand by talking to these Japanese students, which was so cool. And just being able to see how they live and yeah, the differences between our culture was really interesting. I think something else that shaped my global perspective was that in the program, we had to do a lot of readings about topics that I wasn't very familiar with. So, for example, Japanese American immigration. I didn't get that much knowledge on that in the school curriculum. And we actually had a guest speaker. His name is George Takei. He's an author, an actor, a lecturer, an activist, like you
Yeah,
name
heard
it.
about.
He's amazing. And so it was amazing being able to hear his own story with being a Japanese American. He and his family went through like Japanese internment. And I feel like being able to hear a firsthand perspective of this issue was really eye-opening because I feel like it's not what you get from the textbook. The textbook just it doesn't give like a personal encounter or a personal narrative. And so I think being able to hear his story and being able to discuss that with my peers was really eye-opening. And we also had weekly discussion boards. So me and my peers, we would talk about various issues, and some issues were really complex. And so, for example, we talked about Japanese internment and war memories, things like that. And I think being able to talk to students from across the US, we had people from Hawaii, California, New Jersey, like me, or just like in the Midwest. We had students from all over shape their perspectives, and from listening to their perspectives, that also helped shape my perspective. And so, yeah, definitely a great program. Highly recommend for anyone interested in econ or IR.
That's crazy. Yeah, George K. wrote They Call Us Enemy, right? That
Yes,
was the
you
book that
did.
was the amazing novel that gave everybody their perspective on Japanese internment. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like you're always thinking about like whether it's this Japanese workforce or like the 19th century banks, like you're always thinking about people and systems. And at Tallo, that showed up in how you reach over 1.5 million users and even worked on like UI design. How did that role teach you about communication and connecting with people?
Yeah, definitely. So my time at Tello, I was a student advisor slash marketing intern. And in that role, I was really trying to outreach to the audience because they wanted like a younger perspective to create content and to work behind the scenes as well in the marketing aspects. And so for me, I was doing a lot of internal connection and communication as well, whether that was meeting with the internal departments such as design and marketing or external stakeholders. So for example, I did a collaboration with HOSA, and we talked with one of the HOSA International Executive Officers. And I did like a little segment with him, kind of like a podcast, but just asking him questions that a lot of students had. And it was a little segment that we were able to do. And so I think through that, I learned that it's a lot of internal and external work. So you have some like client facing, audience facing roles, such as like the content I was making, as well as the internal aspect of making this happen and making it a reality. So I learned that the goal was really just to meet people, whether it was internally or externally, and just being able to reach as many people as you can and talk to as many people as you can, because it really makes a difference when you're like, for me, that was also my sophomore year. I was a sophomore, and I was talking to these people who had been in the marketing or design industry for years. And I feel like I learned so much just from sitting on their meetings and seeing how they talk to each other, seeing how they drove their initiatives and drove their work. And on the flip side, connecting with the audience of Tallow, I was able to actually connect with the community of Tallow because they had like discussion boards with their users, they have Instagram, TikTok, etc. And so it was just really fun to create content and think about what they needed, what kind of content they were wanting, and be able to make that reality and use my experiences to provide content and media for them.
It honestly sounds like an amazing personal experience for anyone, but I'm glad you learned a lot. And you've also connected in person. I just want to transition to the time when you were teaching Chinese language and culture for the Back to Bach project. I just wanted your opinion on why this would be such a big part of your story, or what that entire project meant to you.
Mhm. Yeah, so giving back to my community was a big part of my high school journey. So I did two big volunteering initiatives. One was being a TA at my local Chinese school. And I think for that one, I grew up in the Chinese school system and I had graduated from it. And I got so much from it, like being able to read, write, and speak Chinese. That was definitely something that I had to do a lot of work for. And it was definitely not easy. So I really wanted to give back and help the other students learn and grow. And I also taught them Chinese folk dance because I have dance experience as well. And so it was really nice to just impart that Chinese culture and language to the next generation. And then on the flip side, I also founded a region for the Back to Bach project, which is more tailored towards my musical experience. And for that, coming out of COVID, I started this project my freshman year. And I knew that elementary and middle school music programs were shrinking just because of COVID and how they couldn't get students in person to play instruments or things like that. And so my initiative for that was to go to these schools and to be able to advocate for music education in the arts so that they could have the same experience that I did, because music and arts really was one of the best parts of my high school experience as well. Just being able to play in like all state orchestras and things like that. It was really amazing. So I really wanted students to be able to see it for themselves, see if they like playing an instrument. And so that's why I formed this group and we went to elementary schools. We went to local pediatric facilities where they don't have music departments. And so I think it was really nice for them to gain exposure to that. We also did a presentation at a school for kids with special needs, so like autism, etc. And so I think for them, it was also really nice to gain that exposure to instrumental music because that's not what they get on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah. It's so great to see people giving back all the time. And honestly, all of this sounds like a lot of rigor on you. So when you're not working on like the enormous projects like these, what do you usually do when like you want to unwind or in your free time?
Yeah, so I definitely turned to dance. So I've been dancing since I was around 5. I started with ballet, and that was a pretty big time commitment. And I knew that if I wanted to focus on other things in high school, I probably would have to stop going to like my strict ballet school. So in high school, I just went to like a local competitive dance studio, and that's where I just danced for like a few hours a week, got my body moving, and it was really nice to just unwind, see my dance friends and just get a break from all of the academics and other extracurriculars I had.
I mean, yeah, all of this is like it's really inspiring just to see how you balance all of this work and all the stuff you do to unwind as well. And it's really exciting to hear where you want to go. But if you could rewind and talk to your younger self before all of this started, what advice would you give yourself?
If I could go back and give myself a piece of advice, I would say to not be afraid to try new things. I think, yeah, definitely, especially in my freshman and sophomore year, I liked just have like I'm a creature of habit, right? So I just like to do what I'm used to. But I think trying new things is definitely one of the biggest things I've learned over the years. Like, for example, just getting the DECA State Officer role, that was something very new to my school because I was the first student in over 10 or 15 years to run. And it was a new thing that I had to pitch to my advisor too. So I think just don't be afraid to try something new, to ask for change, and just go for it.
Great. It's been honestly a pleasure having you here. So you've shown us how curiosity and leadership could take on many forms. And thank you for so much for being here. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
First, that's
Um,
it for today's episode of iStart Insider. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.